Okay, if you need to come down the main pits, this lane that I'm in now is actually classed as the track. You need to be to the right of this white line on my right. Anything to the right of there is a relatively safe place to be with a truck, and that's where you need to be. So if you bring a truck in here, you need to get across the other side of that line so that the pits is still a safe place to be. It also means that you're not blocking the track in effect. So we're going to cross it now through these cones. So continue to anything this side of that white line in that's now to the left is where you need to be for an offload should you need to come into the pits. Be very aware in the pits because you'll have lots of gantries sticking out from the canopies on the right, and it will cause problems. You will hit them, so be very, very careful. Okay, at the end of the pits here now, if you see above me this canopy, this glass canopy, you cannot come under there with a high-ab. Even with a high-ab stowed, you need to get right out here and come round the end of this before you turn to the right. It has been hit in the past. Okay, so we're now starting at pit exit on the boundary road, heading in race direction. This gate to the right is your access from the boundary road to the back of the paddock, which is just round to the right. You will need both gates open to get a truck through. You can get a pickup through with just one gate open, but you need two for a truck. I suspect you'd need two opening slightly for a Snatch vehicle as well. So as we head towards turn 1, there is plenty of room for trucks here. Even on race days, there's other vehicles around and assets. You normally have plenty of room. If I get over here, okay, this is the track access point for turn 1 driver's right, just at the end of the cones on the left. There is plenty of room to take a truck on frontwards or backwards. You have lots of room on the runoff area, but obviously the desired area to turn is here on the boundary road. There is lots of room to turn a truck, no problem at all. Okay, heading up towards turn 2. Between turn 1 and turn 2, you have another track access point. First of all, we come to marshal post number 3 on the left, and then between it and the next marshal post, we have this track access point. Easy access. You need to go in a sort of parallel to the Tech Pro to get through, and you have enough room on the boundary road here to turn a truck round completely. So just before the gantry, we have marshal post number 4, and then we'll come up to turn 2 driver's right and another track access point. Originally these white tyre barriers on the right here were not here. There's still room to turn a truck here in a fashion. Track access point is on the left here. Again, you can come in, but if you come off the track forwards, you would need to turn to the right. But to be honest, that's the general direction you're going to need to go. If you needed to go left, you would come off and head in the corner of the track access, the white tyre fenders, and then you'd have to do a turn back down and go around the corner. So as we leave turn 2, we come across marshal post number 5, I think. And then as we head into turn 3 driver's right, you have another track access point. Plenty of room, lots of room as well to turn a truck here. You can turn a truck, so there is room to turn around. And then as we drop down over the hill towards the race school, So as we approach turn 4, driver's right, on the right here we have an exit from the boundary road down to the operations yard. You can use that as a exit and entry from the inner circuit roads, and it does get used for you to get back to Med Centre quickly. We're now at turn 4, driver's right, and marshal post number 7. This is another track access point, but beware, this is also the pit entry to the race school. Not normally used on race days, but has been known to. Plenty of room for a truck to come on and off the track here, but you'd need to go back up the boundary road slightly to turn a truck. Now during race day, if the race school's not in use, this is part of the boundary road. So as you enter the race school pits area, just be aware there's no other traffic around. There's no restrictions on these lines during race days if this is part of the boundary road. So as we get to race school pit exit, we come to marshal post number 8, and a track access point here is the race school pit exit lane anyway. Takes you on to turn 5, driver's right. This is plenty of room here to turn a truck. In fact, this is the last place you can turn a truck before you get round past turn 7 and the first gantry on the main straight. So be aware of that. If you're committed now to this part of boundary road, you will not be able to turn a truck till you're right round the other side. Okay, as we commit to this boundary road then, down towards turn 7, driver's right. Be aware of this drainage ditch on the right. It's rather embarrassing if you drop a truck wheel into it. Plenty of room here for vehicles to pass. You need to get over onto the chip-ins, that's all. But as the truck is the biggest on the boundary road, you tend to take priority. So this was a marshal post. It's still a marshal post, just without the huts these days. This is marshal post number 9, just before turn 7, driver's right. So as we round the corner of turn 7, driver's right, we have another track access point. There's usually a fire tender sat here as well, so it gets a bit congested. You need to go onto the track in this direction, be it forwards or reversed on. You cannot turn a truck here. It's really, really tight. You probably could, but it's really, really tight. Advise not to. So we continue race direction on past turn 7. And we're now down onto the main straight. Passing marshal post number 10. And just before the first gantry on the main straight, we have another track access point. It is possible to turn a truck here just at this track access point, although it is very tight. You would need to be watched back and forth to do it, but it's not impossible. Now just before the gantry, again, this is wide enough for you to turn a truck quite easily here. There's plenty of room to turn a truck here. Straight after the gantry is the next track access point. Again, easy access on and off the track. As we pass this track access, again, the boundary road is really wide here. It's wide enough to turn a truck should you need to, but then you're committed then to the boundary road until you're past the office building on the right. So we pass marshal post number 12 and the office building on the right, continuing on down. Nowhere to turn a truck now until after this building. So just before the next gantry is the next place that you can turn a truck. It's also the last place you can turn a truck until you're under the west stand at turn 8, driver's right. So this is the last place you can turn a truck before you get to turn 8 drivers right. Now, at one time you could turn a truck underneath the west stand, but they've started putting chemical toilets there. So if that's the case, you will not be able to turn a truck. So you've got two options. You either go up forwards and you reverse all the way back to here, or you go from here to turn 8 drivers right backwards. My personal preference is backwards because it's far easier to load the truck at the other end then. If you go forwards, it makes it difficult to load the truck. So we pass the second gantry, and straight after it is the next truck access point. Bit of a tight one, but as long as you're out wide where we are now, you could come in there and truck access with the truck, no problem. So now approaching turn 8 drivers right. And Marshall post number 14. Okay, as mentioned before, under the stand here now, during race days they've started putting chemical toilets where the wheelie bins are on the right. This has stopped you being able to turn a truck. So you either reverse all the way down here or you come forward. But as you can see, there's normally a fire tender on the left, you've got a snatch vehicle on the right, you'll have a chief recovery pickup here with chemical toilets. If you come down forwards, it makes it difficult for the snatch vehicle to maneuver with a car hanging off it. It is far more advisable to reverse all the way down here and get over on the right, as we're looking at it, to the chemical toilets. That way, when they bring a car off the track, it's easy to load the truck. So as we progress under the stand, we then have the truck access point for turn 8 drivers right. You cannot take a truck beyond this point. You will not get round the end of this turn with a truck. You can get a pickup round there, and I would have thought you'll get a snatch vehicle around it, but you will not get a truck around it. So do not go any further than this with a truck. Okay, so as we come from under the west stand, we're now at turn 9 drivers right. A truck access point here. You can turn a truck here as well. So if you have to come down from the support pits with the truck, this is the last place you can get to, and it's also, you can turn a truck here. It has been done. So moving on up then to the next truck access point is also a Marshall post. This is just on turn 10 drivers right, and also the entry to the support pits. Again, you can turn a truck in here, you just need some guidance to do it. Moving on down now towards the support pits, and this is Marshall post number 16. As we now come into the support pits, you've got the pit entry on the left here. We would normally have a big snatch vehicle here for offloads. Now, during race days, if this gate to my left here is closed in front of you here across to the building, that means the pits are part of the track and you do not have access. It means you would have to go through the gate on the right, round the back of support pits, and back in a gate the other end on the boundary road. If, however, they're swung round and they cross the entry to the pits, that means the pits are part of boundary road, and same boundary road rules apply all the way through the pits. Okay, at the exit to the support pits, again, we have a gate that can either be across the track or across the boundary road. At the moment, it's across the boundary road, so Elliot will demonstrate the moving of it across the track to give me access. If it's across the track, it means the pits are obviously part of the boundary road. If it's like it is at present, it means the pits are part of the track. But reassured, the track is dead at the moment because they're digging it up. So my able-bodied helper will swing the gate out the way for me to get past. Now if you've got to go around the back of support pits, the gates on the right here are where you come back in. Okay, carry on down the boundary road towards turn 11, drivers left. We're passing Marshall Post 19 and then the south stand on the right here. We then come up to Marshall Post number 20 on the end of the south stand. Now at the end of the south stand there's a huge runoff area which is gravel. You can take trucks on it, they do feel a bit squidgy, but you're okay, even loaded trucks. There's a lot of vehicles near normally, medical, tenders, trucks, Snatch, the whole lot. When you bring a truck here to park up first thing in the day, I would suggest that you try and get your truck into this location. Normally they're left here, so you're normally okay. I always try and get the truck here, and the reason being is you have direct access to the track, and you can also go to the right down the boundary road without too much difficulty, or left back down the boundary road. You may get whinged at by fire tenders and all sorts, but stand your ground and make sure you're parked here. This is driver's right, turn 11, by the way. So moving on down, the next truck access point is just before the gantry, which is turn 13, driver's right. It is quite a tight one. You need to be, again, going in the direction that the edge of the tarmac is, which is sort of here to get through. And even then, this is a little bit on the tight side. Past the gantry here at turn 13 is the tightest spot of the track, I think, for a truck. There used to be 2 orange bollards on the left. Then there was 1, and now there's none, I noticed, so someone's taken them all out now. When you bring the truck cab comes through easier than the bed. Bear in mind your bed is wider. You've got a couple of inches either side. You also got to watch your outriggers on the concretes down below. And bearing that in mind, by the time you get through with the truck bed, you're probably here. You need to watch this ditch on the left that you don't drop a wheel into it. You need to come out of there gently. If you come out at too much of an angle, the back of your truck bed will catch the railings. So approaching turn 14, driver's right. This is pretty much a no-no for a truck. I have brought one through here, but I also clipped the Tech Pro with the back of the bed, so it's advisable not to bring a truck in and out of here, to be fair. Use the last truck access point and then go back off at the next truck access point is a far quicker option. Should you have to do that, I would come from turn 14 all the way down here to the next track access point and reverse off the track. It is the quickest way to do it. So we're passing Marshall Post number 22, and then we come to our next track access, which is turn 15, driver's right, just before the gantry. This is the far quicker way if you're at turn 14 with a truck to come. Down here and reverse straight off the track. Much quicker. You can do a turn here with a truck as well, but you will need watching because it is quite tight. As you go through this gantry, be aware of the floodlight on the right. The truck goes through here no problem, but just be aware. You need to get the front of the cab up pretty close to the floodlight before swinging back to the left. And just be aware of the overhang of your bed at the back and the railings. Turn 16, driver's right now. The only issue here normally is the umbrella up at the Marshall Post, which is Marshall Post 24. The umbrella is on your direct line through the track access point. We now come up to turn 17, driver's right. Now you can turn a truck here before the fence steps in and after the fence steps in. It's not a problem to turn here. This is the last track access point that you can use before turn 20. So if there's anything between here and turn 20, you need to be getting on the track here. You can't get on at turn 18, driver's right, and you can't get on at turn 19, driver's right. So going now down towards turn 18, driver's right. This is a bit of a tight section. They usually have an umbrella up on this Marshall Post as well. So again, make sure they're aware that you're on the circuit. Get them down, get them to get their umbrellas down. That's Marshall Post 26. Turn 18, driver's right. You just can't get a truck in and out of it. It's not going to happen. Pickup, Snatch, fine, but not a truck. Coming round under the hotel towards turn 19, driver's right. and we have marshal post number 27. You will have a tender sat here normally, and more often than not it's an outsourced marshal, which means they don't understand that we're on the circuit. They're told to sit in the track access point. They will sit in this track access point at turn 19 drivers right. Now, to make sure they're off the track though, they are then blocking the boundary road and you cannot get a truck round. You need to explain this to them and get them to park where in effect this blue and this white barriers are on the left. Park them parallel to the fence. They really don't understand the sort of physics of throwing a truck round here. When you bring a truck round this one, this is quite tight. You need to be way out on the right, but not too far. You need to get right up to this post and bring it round quite wide out. Be aware of the overhang in the back of the bed with the fence. On F1 day, there's usually a television tower there as well, which makes it even worse. So we're now coming up to turn 20 drivers right as we pass marshal post 28. Plenty of access at this one. You can probably turn a truck here as well. I've never had to do it, but I suspect you'd be able to turn a truck here with some guidance, no problem. So that's track access, turn 20 drivers right, just before the gantry. This gantry again, not a problem getting through this one with a truck. Just watch the fence on the right. Now this is the gates into the Med Centre car park. So this is where you're going to be exiting the boundary road with a vehicle to drop them off at the Med Centre. We'll do the Med Centre separate. Last track access point then for a truck would be this one, which is just at the entry to turn 21 drivers right. You cannot take a truck past here. You can go down the boundary road to the end, but you will not get down to the Med Centre. We'll drive it just to show you how tight it is. Pickups can come down here. I'm not even sure a big Snatch vehicle would get down here. The small ones would. It's a little bit tight even in this F-150. So I wouldn't entertain bringing a truck down here because I don't think you'd get it down here, to be honest. Although it'd be fun trying. So this brings us back into the Med Centre and the main pits. Okay, so in effect we're at marshal post 31 and turn 21 drivers left, or turn 0, whatever you prefer to call it. Track access point here on the start straight. Plenty of room, loads of access, and you can actually turn a truck here as well. We then drop down past marshal post 32. Continue down the start straight. Turn 1 drivers left. Passing marshal post number 1. Okay, as we approach turn 1 drivers left, it's the entry to turn 1 drivers left actually. You have a good track access point and you have plenty of room to turn a truck here. At race start, we always put a pickup here with a deputy recovery in for all race starts. Moving on around the boundary road, be aware that the jungle on the left here is getting worse and worse. You'll hit it with a truck guaranteed at the moment. You're also hitting it with a pickup truck. And it keeps knocking my aerials off the roof. So marshal post P2, which is the exit from the main pits, out of the tunnel there on the right. We start to climb up the hill towards turn 2, and then we have marshal post P3. Beware of the drainage ditches on the left. As I've said before, it's embarrassing to put a truck wheel in them. We come up to marshal post P4, which is the entry to turn 3 drivers left. There is a truck access point here. You need to be over on this side before you turn in to get through it. It's a bit tight with the barriers. Continuing round, while we're still on sort of the apex of the corner for turn 3 drivers left. We come to the next track access point. Plenty of room again, and loads of room for turning a truck here. Big runoff area there as well, so good for loading vehicles on if need be. We then come to the top of the corkscrew. Lots of room here, but usually lots of vehicles as well. You'll have Snatch and a recovery truck inside the fences, but you normally get the medical vehicles and a fire tender sit outside the access point here. From here onwards is in effect live track, so even though they sit out here, it's in effect live track. Before you go down to turn 7 drivers left, down the bottom of the track there, you need permission to cross this corkscrew from race control. So do not proceed past here without permission. You then cross the track directly. Okay, so we drop down to the rallycross jump, and then the boundary road actually goes to the left bit. So again, permission to cross the track, and watch on the edge here, because there is quite a drop off down the side of the track just by the floodlight. You need to come to the left, and then you need to be going down the boundary road heading towards turn 5 drivers left. Okay, track access point for turn 5 drivers left. Loads of room in here for turning a truck round. The track access point starts here at the end of these fences, and you've got quite a bit of tarmac to go before you actually get to the track, but that is live track. Do not go through there without permission. Boundary road then continues down the left of the Tech Pro, albeit off-roading at present, and we have the track access point for turn 6 drivers left. The boundary road then continues round. Now, if you need to take a truck down to turn 7 drivers left, which is to the right here, it's advisable to turn here and back down. If you do not, you'll be backing all the way back down to here. It also makes loading anything a lot easier. So this is the road down into turn 7 drivers left. It's one way in, one way out. So it widens out at the end here, but you will struggle you can turn a truck down here, but it's just a lot easier to reverse it all the way down, and time saving. Now, if you need to bring a truck off the track here, there is a track access point here, which we will turn and show you. So, turn 7 drivers left has a track access point at the exit to the turn. If you need to come off the track here, it's advisable to reverse off the track. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'll go forward and I will show you. If you come off at an angle, this is pretty much at the angle you're going to need to come off at. It will allow you to reverse all the way to the barriers at the back. And it gives you plenty of room then to swing the truck round and get it back on the boundary road. So, leaving turn 7 drivers left, we're going to go back down and then back up through the corkscrew to top of corkscrew. So again, back down the side of the rallycross jump. Make sure you stay in between these Tech Pros. This is boundary road. Anything outside of these is live track. Once you get to here, you need permission to cross the track again. Even though this track might not be getting used, you still need permission. Make sure you have permission, looking all around for vehicles. Cross the track, up the next section of boundary road to the top of corkscrew. And again, finally get permission to cross this last little section, making sure that there is nobody coming through down this way inadvertently. When you get to the back of the top of the corkscrew, straight in front is wrong direction. To go race direction, you're going to need to pretty much come back on yourself. It's about 270 degrees. To get a truck round there, you've got to watch this floodlight on the left. I would advise coming right out to the left, swing the truck round to the fence, and then backing it up with a good lock on, because you can get then to the side of the floodlight. That then puts you in a good direction to go down the boundary road. Okay, so we now proceed on down the boundary road to the bottom of the corkscrew, and directly in front of us is the track access point onto the main straight at the bottom of the corkscrew. There is plenty of room here to turn a truck. Again, you have quite a section of tarmac before you actually reach the track, but past the end of the Tech Pro is live circuit. Moving on round. The next track access point is a bit of a tight one. These white tyre fenders on the left never used to be here. You need to be way out here to come back in because of the way it's built. The grass here is also soft, so make sure you stay on the tarmac. Okay, we're now approaching the second gantry on the main straight. And the next track access point is here at Marshall post number 13, driver's left. Plenty of room. You could turn a truck here if you needed, but I don't ever see the need to turn a truck here. Now, if you need to bring a truck in or out of the inner boundary road, the North Circuit inner boundary road, on the left here is a turn-in which leads to the gates that go to the med centre. So I'll just go down there just to put it on the film. So these gates here in front of me, if you come out of these and go right, it drops you through the tunnel and to the med centre car park. This is the way on and off the North Circuit inner boundary road. So continuing our journey down the boundary road, we're now approaching turn 8, driver's left. And on the left here we have a huge runoff area. It's chip-ins and it can be a bit squidgy, but you can turn a truck there, even a loaded truck. It can be turned. Track access point, turn 8, driver's left, directly in front of us. It takes you directly onto the sort of inner apex of the corner. Then climbing up towards turn 9, driver's left. And this is the track access point for turn 9, driver's left. It's the cut through between the two halves of the circuit, so turn 20 and turn 9. It's also access across to the island, but it is live track, so as usual you need permission to go across there. And finally we have a track access point just on the apex of turn 21, driver's left. There's usually a tender sat here. I've never had or known of a truck going through this gap, although never say never. At the end of the day, it's no reason why it shouldn't. Okay, directly in front of us, where you can see a Yaz truck at the moment, is the island. We normally don't need to go across there, although it has been known. So access, this is turn 9, driver's left. You would have to wait for permission, as always, and then you would proceed across there. And my able assistant Elliot will get out and move a cone for me. Beautifully done. Okay, this is proceeding through the island. We have Marshall post 30 on the island, and also Marshall post number 15. There's normally an ambulance on the island as well, so we normally, I think we may put a Snatch here, but I'd have to confirm that. We certainly wouldn't have a truck here. Again, now we're going to cross to the hotel inner circuit. This again is live track, so you need permission to go across here. And that puts us on the hotel inner circuit. Okay, we're on the hotel inner circuit, and we'll start here at turn 10, driver's left, as it's the lowest numbered turn on the hotel inner circuit. We proceed under the bridge. Okay, as you get opposite the support pit stand, At the end of these railings, not only do you have a track access point on the right, which is in effect the start-stop straight for the support pits, on the left here, just on the left here, is the gate that comes in from the public roads. This is where you come in from the hotel onto the hotel inner circuit. This is the access from the public roads. So we'll continue on around now. Now the hotel inner circuit is a loop that comes back to the same place, plus a second loop. Now this little point here, which is directly opposite stand, to the left here is where we go into the second loop, which is actually around the hotel. So we'll do the first loop first, which goes around turn 11, 12, 13, 14. So we pass Marshall Post 18 on the right, and the main gantry on this start straight, and then we have a good track access point, plenty of room to turn a truck. The road coming in from the left here is where we come back to once we've done 11, 12, 13 and 14. So we're now approaching the south stand. And again, we have a good track access point here, just before turn 11, driver's left. Plenty of room to turn a truck as well. Turn 11, driver's left, has a track access point, but you will need to swing out wide. If you need to bring a truck here, you need to be out here on these chip-ins. Just be aware of your back end. But that you need to sort of line up here to get out of there. That's how the only way you're going to get out there. See, the direction of the tarmac is the direction you need to be going in. So continuing on round. This is the track access point for turn 14, drivers left. Okay, so track access for turn 14, drivers left. You need to be over, and again, follow the direction of the tarmac. If you don't follow the direction of the tarmac, you will end up on the grass, which is soft. So continuing on round Boundary Road. We come to turn 15, drivers left before the gantry and the next truck access point. It is possible to turn a truck here, although you will end up with the wheels on the grass, so just be aware of that. And again, we move on then. This is back now to the start. So like I said, there's two loops. That's the end of the first loop. This in effect is also turn 15, drivers left. You will need to swing really far out left if you intend taking a truck through there. There shouldn't be a need because you'll use the previous track access point. So we're now going WD, back down the Boundary Road, past the support pits over on our left. What we will do now is go to the right here, which is a turn 16, drivers left. And this is the next track access point. Again, it's a fairly easy access as long as you follow the parallel to the Tech Pro, you'll be okay. You can now, what we're entering now is the Boundary Road around under the hotel. You can take a truck down here without too much difficulty. So this is turn 17, drivers left and Marshall Post 25. There is a track access point here. You can get a truck through there in a fashion, although it's not recommended, it's not easy. The best way would be is to sort of direct yourselves over here, and you're going to have to reverse back up under the hotel here. But you're going to need to be very, very careful though, because it's the overhang of the hotel, and then you should be able to get onto the track like that. Not really advisable, but can be done. Continuing now down towards turn 18, drivers left. Again, very easy access to the track from here. You can get a truck on and off, unlike turn 18, drivers right. so you can get your truck on and off. You should be able to turn a truck here as well if need be. Under the hotel, and as soon as you come under the hotel, there is a place to turn the truck. If you look just to the left here, there's a set of doors in there. There is plenty of room to turn a truck here. You can back into there and then back out of there and then come out of there. Turn 19, driver's left, easy access onto the turn and back off the turn. Continuing on round, we come to the next track access point, which is just as you exit turn 19, driver's left. And again, there is room to turn a truck here. You've got to reverse down to the hotel wall there a bit, but it can be done. And as we approach turn 20, driver's left, this is pretty much the end of the hotel inner circuit. This is Marshall Post 29. And as we come back up here, you've got two track access points. The one is actually turn 20, driver's left, and the other one is back across to the island. Plenty of room here. You can turn a truck here. Again, if you need to put a truck on here though, you're going to need to line yourself up to get it through the gap. It is possible, so just be aware that you would probably need to do a bit of a shunt and get yourselves lined up. Easy enough. Okay, should you have to drop off at the main pits and you brought down the pit lane, again this will probably be after races, between races. You'll be coming down the pit lane here, and then either JMR or myself or one of the deputies will be here to guide you. You'll get to the end of the Tech Pro on the right, and you'll be asked to swing to the right more often than not. So you'll bring it round to the right and you'll stop in front of the gates. We'll have a snatch on the right which will lift the vehicle off. You'll then be asked to just move forward from underneath it so the vehicle can be put on the ground. So if you come out of these gates for a drop off in a Med Centre car park, you'll come across here. I would advise that when you get to the end here at the media centre, you turn right and you back all the way down to the Med Centre. It's the obvious thing to do. So you would then be backing all the way down here to the gates into the pits. There'll be a snatch waiting for you. You'll back all the way up until instructed to stop. The vehicle will then be lifted, and again you will then drive from underneath and proceed back to the boundary road to your post. If you're asked to drop off at the paddock, instead of reversing down to the pits gates, you will come through here, and again you'll be guided down here by someone or other. Be aware that all of these areas are public access and there's people everywhere, so you just really got to be aware, because they won't be aware of you in a truck, believe it or not. So back of the paddock is always crowded, but wherever, normally we'll have a snatch here in advance for you, so they'll be tucked into whichever garage you're going to drop off. The easiest way is you just stay on the back road like this, and whichever garage you need to stop at, you'll stop, they'll lift it off and you'll drive off. Depending on what race it is, you may be able to turn in here and go back the way you come, but if not, you'll just continue on to the end and then use the inner circuit roads to get back to your posts. So we'll do the inner circuit road shortly. These gates have a security guard on normally, but it's never normally an issue. Okay, if you need to do an offload at support pits, you will be coming in this way into the pit entry normally, usually between races. We offload over the fence on the right here, so you want to get really tight. So if you've got a truck crew, you need to drop the truck crew off and then bring the truck in here as tight as you can underneath the JCB. You'll stop, it'll be lifted, and as he starts to back away, you'll be asked to move forward. More often than not, you will then be asked to go round to the right and you will exit through the gates here. Okay, occasionally there's a need to come off the outer boundary road down through the maintenance yard. Now this is the gate from the entrance to the race school through the maintenance yard. So you can drop down through here and then it takes you out onto the inner circuit roads. You go straight through the maintenance yard. There's normally security guards at both ends. So we'll take the route back to Med Centre from here. So this is back on the inner circuit road now, so be aware that these are public roads, so normal rules apply. So this is the usual road back round to race control in the Med Centre car park now. Now if you're bringing a truck off the inner boundary road for the North Circuit, this gate on the right here that we're just passing is where you will come out onto the inner circuit roads. This brings you out. You'll then follow this same route now back to the Med Centre car park. So we'll drop down through the tunnel. And in front you have the gate that you'd come off the boundary road to the Med Centre car park. And we're back into the Med Centre car park. Okay, sometimes there's a need to go from Med Centre, race control, whatever, to support pits by the inner circuit roads. So we're just going to do that now. So heading out of the Med Centre car park, we'll drop down through the tunnel and back out to the main roundabout. You can bring a truck this way as well. There is enough access for trucks. Back out to the main roundabout here, and we're going to come back on ourselves and drop down under the track, under the main straight, as if we were going back to the west gate. Okay, as you come out of the tunnel here, you're going to go left across the oncoming traffic. So you just got to be aware that there's, again, you're on a public highway, this could be oncoming traffic. This then takes us behind the west stand, through the car parks behind the west stand, and down to the support pits. You can come through here during the F1 weekend, but again, this is then normally the village, and there's public everywhere, so you just need to be a bit aware of that. Although not impossible, it can be done. Should the need arise for you to go to the hotel in a circuit during a race, you have to go outside the circuit. And the way to do that is here at gate 10. You can go out through this gate here, directly across behind the security hut for the hotel, over the bridge and drop down into the hotel in a circuit from there. So continuing around the support pits, be aware that under this bridge it's single lane in effect. So you will have oncoming traffic potentially. Now this is support pits car park. So you've got two potential access points here. You have this end of the stand, which is the entry to the support pits from the track. And then we'll go down to the other end, which is the exit from the support pits. Now there's a compound behind support pits, but you're better off coming to the right of the fence and staying outside the compound. Quite often the compound is split in two, so you wouldn't be able to get all the way through. So we come to the other end of the support pit stand, and we have the gate back onto the boundary road.